The breadcrumbs you're receiving with your specific person manifestation actually mean it's coming to you in the best and the quickest possible way, because breadcrumbs are just a part of the bridge of events. And the bridge of events is that logical path, so that line that takes us from where we feel we are to our specific person. And in that case, breadcrumbs then are something amazing. So getting a text, getting a call, seeing numbers, seeing your specific person, seeing their card, things that relate to them, all of those are breadcrumbs leading us to something even greater, which is at the end of the road, the giant loaf of bread or our manifestation that we're going for. And I have found a lot of individuals in comments or in coaching, and maybe you thought of this way or thought this as well, that sometimes breadcrumbs are bad. Or maybe we lash out at our specific person and say, I'm done receiving these breadcrumbs, I want more. And how does this make us feel? It doesn't make us feel the best, right? And it's only because the breadcrumbs, quote unquote, are actually really, really positive and really abundant and really amazing, and something you should actually celebrate rather than get upset with. But I know manifesting our specific person, we want it to happen in the quickest possible way. But what if I told you celebrating these breadcrumbs actually bring us more successes and more successes and even more successes? And it's because it works in a snowball effect. And because the more we feel we're getting success, the more it supports our internal state that we can be with our specific person, which again changes our belief and then creates more successes outside of us. So whenever you do see the text message, right, from your specific person, them just saying happy birthday or hey, what's going on, anything like that, I know it seems small, but this small, tiny thing is going to compound into something even greater. So when you see things like that, again, what you would call breadcrumbs, I want you to celebrate it, even if it's small successes that you feel aren't significant. Like, let's say you see your specific person on the street. That's your reality aligning you and your specific person together. So again, something to celebrate. Or if your specific person only messages you once a day, obviously that's not our end state, but that's an awesome breadcrumb. I'm changing our whole perspective on breadcrumbs. Now we're gonna be devouring the breadcrumbs instead of trying to throw them away. Because I guess you could think about it in the way, imagine the breadcrumbs all accumulating to this giant loaf of bread, like I mentioned earlier. So why would you ever want to push any portion of that away? Because it's all building up into your perfect relationship. Think of the way of communication. So let's say our specific person messages us once a week, okay? And how do we feel about that? Most of the time, we would refer to that as breadcrumbs, right? And we'd think it was bad, and that the more attention we put into them messaging us one time a week, the more we're just going to get more of the same. But when you actually begin to view that in the way of celebrating the communication between you and your specific person, that's how you get more of it, because then you start to feel as the person who's in communication with their specific person, and then you see that repeat more and more and more. And I'll give you a little timeline of what this is going to look like and how these small breadcrumbs are going to absolutely change your manifestation. So let's think about two different individuals. And this is something an example I always love. If you take two different individuals, let's say one gets one text message every week for the past year. Or just, let's not put a time frame on it. Let's just say they receive one message. Each individual gets one message per week from their specific person. And we can have two different choices of our attitudes that we can go towards it, right? One, we can look at it as breadcrumbs, screw that, I'm not accepting that, right? One attitude. Or we could say, I love being in communication with my specific person. It's so awesome that we get to message once a week. And I think you are already seeing where I'm going with this, but you can see then each of those has an attitude and a belief behind it. So the person who's refusing to accept breadcrumbs feels what type of emotions and what types of feelings, which leads to what types of beliefs. You'd say they probably feel very upset, annoyed, angry, right? And then how does that cause them to react or reach out to their specific person? You'd say, again, annoyed, angry, upset. But the other individual is receiving this awesome communication every week with their specific person, and that's how they view it. How do they feel? Happy, positive, abundant, loved in communication. And then how are they going to react in their reality, and what assumptions are they going to bring with them, right? Communication, happy, basically all the feelings and emotions we just mentioned. So you can see both of these have different trajectories because they have different assumptions and different feelings and different beliefs. So, and they're going to look the exact opposite. If you were to take like a line graph or whatever you want to call it, I don't know if you know a lot about graphs. I don't really use graphs in my videos, but think of the specific or the person who is thinking breadcrumbs, screw breadcrumbs, right? Which is an idea we may have all had at some point or another. They are then, because the assumption is I'm not in communication, they're going to see their messages go down and down and down and get less and less. So it turns from 1 week to once every 2 weeks to once every 3 weeks to once every 4 weeks, because their assumption is I don't have the communication I want with my specific person, right? Does that make sense? And then, but the person who then says, I'm in awesome communication, I love this message I receive every single week from my specific person, their graph, I know we're getting mathematical here, you guys, their graph looks up because they feel as if they are in communication with their specific person. So then it starts to amplify. So they get 1 text a week, then 2 texts a week, then 3 texts a week, then 1 text a day, then 5 texts a day, right? It goes up and up because that's their assumption. They are happy in the belief or the feeling that they have more communication with their specific person. And it's almost like you're setting yourself to a higher standard because you're not accepting less. You're actually forcing yourself to feel more into the state more often, right? And that's why these breadcrumbs, like in this individual, where it was feeling much in communication with their specific person, those breadcrumbs were accumulating left and right, right? Like it's almost like, imagine if every day you received $1 and you wanted $300, right? You receiving the $1, saying the whole breadcrumb idea, saying I don't want that, would be like, that's not $300. Get another dollar. Next day, that's not $300. Next day, right? And we keep throwing it out over and over and over again. But the other person that collects it has $300 in no time, right? Because they were accumulating it and then they received it because it kept becoming more and more. But in that example, it's not the same as manifestation because it would actually amplify exponentially, meaning that one day you'd get $1, and if you accept that, the next day you'd get $2, and then if you accept that, you get $3, and it keeps going up and up and up because your feelings, your assumptions, and your beliefs are being put into the situation. So again, if you received $1 every single day, would you throw it away because it's not your $1,000, $300, whatever it is that you want? Or would you be like, this is awesome. This is my first step towards my $300. That feeling and belief is so powerful in changing your reality. So definitely start taking that in. And remember, breadcrumbs are not bad. Breadcrumbs are not bad at all. And the more that we assume and celebrate those breadcrumb successes, the more they accumulate and the more you receive and get. So think about that next time you begin to get upset over a breadcrumb activity because it is just the start of your loaf of bread, right? But if you did have any questions on this, definitely leave them in the comment section below. Or maybe even write what you in the past had thought of as a breadcrumb and how you're perceiving it now, right? Because as your friend, I want to support every single success that you get, no matter what, because it literally impacts your success so much you have no idea. And if you did want to send me a personal question or personal idea or anything, head over to kyleaugustcoaching.com. That's where you can contact me. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and hanging out with me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.